Hi, Praveen. How are you? I cannot hear you. Let me see, make sure we can hear you.
Hello. Good morning, Akhilesh.
Excuse me. Yes, I can hear you very well now.
I was talking on mute.
Okay. All right. Okay. So great. Thank you very much for arranging this.
Thank you.
I think at least I can see you, you can see me and talk to each other. I wonder how it's coming out on Facebook, etc.
Absolutely. I think if you can make yourself center and maybe if you see a center and my face is a gap.
Yes.
Yeah. If you can do the same way, that would be good, I think.
Same width. Let me see.
Lower.
Lower. Okay.
Yeah, you can do a little lower.
How about?
Yeah.
Because the excuse me, the requirements of a Zoom meeting are different from the requirements of a TV. Yes. How about now?
Now it's, I think, yeah, now it's center. Thank you. Yeah.
Better?
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. That's my wife.
I know. I was just, hi.
I will stay away from them.
Right. Okay. Right.
So probably, I think I'll just let you know the 30 minutes how we will spend. I will just introduce you to the viewers and then read out a little bit bio about you. And then probably I will ask you, we'll start with if you want to add anything about yourself and your accomplishments, and then we'll get into the questions. Slowly and steadily, the questions, whatever the 12 questions we have, we might ask those questions, might be a little bit sequential. If at all the topic goes different way, then I might add a little bit here and there, and then it will be very flexible. The only main intention of this show is to tell the people about your accomplishment and also to give a direction to the young youth what they have to choose. And definitely it's in Indo-American community, we need to know who are the people who have accomplished to the peaks.
Well, I would put the second one more important.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, certainly interaction or any advice I can give to young people, I think is far more important than what I have accomplished. Okay.
So one other question I think I have already added, the AI/ML technologies in the science or mechanics, what you have been doing.
Yeah.
Do you think you're comfortable me asking those questions, or?
Not right at the beginning. See, when I began my research, there was no AI or ML.
Yeah. Okay. But just in future, because how things change, evolving. I only want you to touch upon what is the evolution of technology, even in the research.
Okay, so I would say in that case, if you can begin with in your list, question number
6.
well, I know question number 6, but I actually made some notes for myself, to answer these questions.
Okay.
I think if you ask question number 4, 5, and 6, then it would come very naturally.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that will be on the sequence side.
Yeah.
Because even first 5 minutes will go definitely when and why you thought to become a scientist. That
Right.
itself says some, and that is very important. It might be very common to you, but public, the young people should understand how you get into a scientist mode, right? So because today everyone are only doing everything because of how to earn money, but no one thinks beyond that. Every parent also definitely encourage, if you become a doctor you can earn, you can be there, that, but how you serve the community, how you really take your levels to the next level and treat people or innovate something new, and at the same time, even if you innovate, what will be repercussions after that, right? So sustainability and then recycling, so many things come to the picture.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and I think money is very important, but it is not the most important thing.
Absolutely.
In fact, in your last question, what is your message to the community? I will actually emphasize this point.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So yeah, first and last 2-3 questions are very important. That is where my crux of the show. My crux of the show is only to tell people who achieve, what is their message, right? And if they want any guidance, they are always there to go there and ask them even after.
Right.
That's the main important message I wanted to. I know that if I Google your name, you will get so many things you have achieved and people can read. But when you physically tell people, that makes an impact.
Thank you. That is great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
what's the viewership of your channel? I'm sorry, because I don't subscribe to this.
I know my viewership for this Mana TV, there are 120,000 or so viewership is there for the YouTube channel. And I also put this in my channel too. I have like close to 1,900 subscribers, which is organic. I don't go with any paid versions or anything. This is purely voluntary service. I don't want to involve money in this.
Wonderful. No, I'm actually very glad that that this would let me reach potentially a very large number of young people.
Thank you. I think your community, whom this will see how these 1,900 people have come within a span of 1.5 years. Like you give 2-3 people, someone will give 2-3 people. Interest. Right. I'm generating that interest naturally. I'm not interested in money out of it, or I'm not interested to get popular out of this. I'm only interested. My message is going to one person. I'm done. With one show, one person, I'm achieved.
Great. Thank you.
That motto, because people ask, what is your viewership? Then I have to get into a business.
Then no. I didn't mean from that. I just wanted to know how many students how many young people can I expect?
I already sent all my groups and Facebook as well. It will eventually go Akhilesh, because this will be telecasted again and again. Because someone from I have a couple of them I had who will continuously paste these links on the Facebook, LinkedIn, and all these kinds of stuff. Because
wonderful.
I have my day job, and I thought I spent my money on this to expand this. That is the only catch out of it. I don't even ask anyone a single dollar or a single rupee for this. I think this is my passion. I put my money into this.
I'm very glad. Very glad.
It's all, as and when I'm doing, people are feeling happy and suggesting, like Shailesh ji has recommended me to do. So it's not easy to come, right? People like you getting my attention. If I send a request, it is not so easy to get your time. So I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky in that. Wait, let me ask, and we have 2 minutes. Let's get started.
Yes, let me actually switch off my email.
Any plans for the weekend, Akhilesh?
No, actually, we just came back. Actually, we were visiting my daughter, or our daughter, rather, I should say, in upstate New York.
Okay. So you have one daughter.
Yeah, we have one daughter. Yeah, yeah. She and her husband, and we have a grandson. They live in Saratoga Springs.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were visiting them for Christmas and also for our grandson's birthday is 2 days after Christmas. So we were there for that too. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
So they are into IT or again in your route of research?
No, my son-in-law is actually a mechanical and nuclear engineer, and he works for the Navy. Well, indirectly for the Navy. And my daughter is a speech language pathologist.
Speech language pathologist.
So she looks at people who are injured, or in particular who are injured and therefore lose how to speak.
Oh.
Or children who are developmentally impaired.
Got it.
Okay, so she began with the first group, but now for the last about 8 or 9 years, she has worked exclusively with children.
Excellent.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's time.
Yeah, it's time. I'm just calling them again.
Okay.
So the team is in India. They coordinate everything.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
From Mana TV and TV5.
I see.
He's just getting ready. This is what I don't like. People, you need to be on time.
Yes. Well.
He's just sending the link to TV5.
I see.
And he's getting ready.
Yeah, but on TV they have also advertisements.
Yeah. TV5 also has basically TV5 and Mana TV has a good network in North America.
I see.
So anything everywhere TV5 will be there, and we have a studio in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
That makes me more comfortable. That's why I took this, because when I do hard work, it should be telecasted more so that they know what will happen.
Right.
And there are so many groups across the nation.
Yes.
And these guys will be pasting this URL to all the groups.
Wonderful.
And there is one group with all whom I interviewed. I have added you into that.
Okay.
And they are all professors, CEOs, presidents, and all of them. So I don't put any flyers apart from Mana TV. I only tell everyone to tell about yourself, your achievements, but not good evening, that kind of thing. Otherwise, they'll leave. They will leave. Immediately, they'll leave. Good people won't stay in WhatsApp group. It's very hard for me to retain people.
I see.
So I promise them that we will not put anything apart from this knowledge session. If anyone needs any help from each other, they will communicate.
Yes.
And they can take the link and they can also do privately.
Right.
It's a good facility for all to, like-minded people connecting with knowledge. And, that's also people like that. So far only 2 or 3 people went away from that group, but many of them are retained.
So this is the IWPP.
Yes, Insight with Praveen Puram.
I see. Okay, great. Thank you for telling me.
It's 4 minutes late.
Confirmation is start.
Yeah. 5 minutes later in Lalesh. Yeah.
1 second, sir. 1 second.
Okay, you be on the line as in when we say the link. Right. Okay. How is the weather, Akhilesh ji? It is still cold?
Oh, yes, of course.
Very cold, yeah. Even in Atlanta as well. Again, 3 days was good, but now again it's cold.
Yes, no. But we expect it to be cold at this time of the year.
I know, I know.
If it is not cold, then we would be very worried about summer.
Very
Yeah. No.
So how far you are from Pennsylvania or Philadelphia?
Philadelphia, about 200 miles.
From Philadelphia.
Yes, by
Ah,
road,
okay.
about 200 miles. But about 150 miles from Pittsburgh, 200 miles from Philadelphia, 220 or 30 miles from Brooklyn.
Okay.
So, but the university was founded in the center of the state.
Okay.
There was nothing here except fields. But it's been here for 150 plus years now.
సార్ వాళ్ళు ఒక్కసారి ఓపెన్ చేస్తే అంటే స్టార్ట్ చేద్దామని.
Well, call Jeva. Please call them. Yeah, tell them the guest is waiting. We can't.
చూస్తున్నారు.
So when Shailesh ji was there, did you visit here, Atlanta?
Yes, of course. It was very nice that he was here for 3 years.
Yeah.
Although COVID did not help in the last 4 or 5 months.
I know.
Yeah, but it was good he was here. In fact, he just he retired after that.
Yeah.
And just 2 days ago, he became a metropolitan magistrate in Delhi.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So this is
Okay. I think they are getting ready.
okay.
1 minute, let me call, and then we are showing the thumb, and then we will start.
తమ్ నుంచి స్టార్ట్ చేసేయండి. డన్
Okay, na?
డన్ డన్.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Insight with Praveen Puram. You are watching Mana TV and TV5 live from Atlanta. As you know, the year end 2022, this will be the last episode for this year, and we have our esteemed guest Akhilesh Laktakia, who is our professor. Is a world-renowned professor in the engineering, science, and mechanics. And as you all know, this show is only about NRIs, Indo-American NRIs who achieve in their life on any of the topic, or the young entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurs to give the message for the NRIs. Please keep watching, and if you have any questions or any of the guests you want to interact, please feel free to text me. And again, let's get into the show right now. Welcome, Mr. Akhilesh Laktakia ji. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
We are very, very esteemed. We are very esteemed to have you on the show. And let me introduce about you, and then open for the questions as a part of the show. Thank you again for having some time here. So let me introduce Mr. Akhilesh Laktakia. He was born in Lucknow. He obtained his Bachelor of Technology in Electronics Engineering from Banaras University. And he also has a doctorate of philosophy degrees in electronic engineering from the University of Utah, Salt Lake City in 1981 and 83. And he also had a doctorate of science degree in electronic engineering from Banaras Hindu University. He joined the faculty of Pennsylvania State University, where he attained the rank of distinguished professor in January 2004. In 2006, he became the Charles Godfrey Binder Professor of Engineering, Science, and Mechanics. In 2018, he received the highest professional rank at Penn State, Ivan Pug University Professor. He is in love with the electromagnetic field in complex material using chiral and bionostrophic materials, sculptured thin films, chiral nanotubes, and other nano-engineered materials. More than all, he has an esteemed award recently on November 19, 2022. He has received a RCA award, which is a Radio Club of America Lifetime Achievement. This award he is the sixth person who has achieved this esteemed award in the world. So let us see what is this RCA. RCA brings together professionals from every segment of wireless industry with a mission to promote cooperation among these interesting and scientific investigation in the art of radio communication. The RCA Lifetime Achievement Award recognizes very significant achievement and a major body of work accomplished over a lifetime that has advanced the art and science of wireless technology, according to the RCA press release. Lakatake is the sixth person to win this award. The RCA identified Lakatake as an expert in material and electromagnetic wave modeling that are used in RF stealth application as well as in lasers, green engineering, and biologically inspired design. In his more than 40 years career in electromagnetics technology, he has received 43 honors and awards, authored 27 books, more than 940 journal papers, and been named as a US State Department Jefferson's Science Fellow. With that said, what an accomplishment, Dr. Akhilesh ji. And I would not go more into details because I have more than 5 pages about your accomplishments, and we are very glad to hear. So after 40 years of your life in electromagnetic and engineering and science and mechanics, tell us your journey. What made you to become a scientist?
Well, I recently had occasion to recall that, and that was July 20, 1969, when the first humans landed on moon. You know, I was in the 7th grade at that time, and there was no television in Lucknow, at least at that time. And we could on the radio, periodically somebody would come and say, you know, what the progress was. And it was just exciting, you know, that human beings could land on moon. And I said, you know, this is what I want to do. Okay, something of this kind. Okay. And that is when I think I resolved to become a scientist, which was kind of strange because my family was mostly in administration and law. The women were mostly hazifs, you know, men were mostly lawyers, administrators, etc. So I was a bit of an anomaly. Okay. And it took me about a year to realize what I wanted to do, and to become an electronics engineer. That is what I thought I'll do. And that's what I started. So I went to Banaras Hindu University, Institute of Technology, which is now IIT BHU. And after that, I went to the University of Utah for my master's and PhD. And then I became a postdoc at Penn State. They offered me a position here, a faculty position here. And so I've stayed here now 39 plus years.
So in your current position at Pug University, right? Penn State University, right. What are your responsibility, Dr. Akhilesh?
Well, of course, I teach, as every professor should teach, must teach, in fact, okay, and thereby interact with young minds. Okay, that's very important. So that's what I do. Another part of my responsibility is to do research, essentially create new knowledge. So that is what distinguishes a university from a high school. In high school, we also teach what is known, but at a university, we must also find out new things. So that's an important part of a professor's life, professional life. That's what I do.
Absolutely. And you have recently won the RCA award. Tell us more about this RCA award and what made this and how the criteria to select into an RCA. Because in the world, only 5 people have achieved this greatest award. So tell us more about to the audience, what is this all about?
Well, I certainly did not nominate myself, so I don't know exactly why. But I'm actually very pleased to be in the company of those people. The ones, I mean, they include, for example, Martin Cooper, who was the inventor of the smartphone. And then there is Francis Drake, who gave the Drake equation and was responsible for search for extraterrestrial intelligence. So these are of course, and others, 3 more people. They're very important people. And when I received an email that I had been selected for this one this year, that was very gratifying. Yeah, so I was there in Atlanta in November, and that's a very nice city. I can't hear you.
Great to hear that. That is where I got to know more about you, and I thought that this is a great forum to more innovate from your thoughts and get a good lessons to the all the NRIs. That is where this show came up, and you also tell us more about on the nanotechnologies and the wireless technology. What is your contribution in today's wireless technology?
So the major strand in my research has been to look at electromagnetic fields in complex materials and nanomaterials, and that often to examine the role of microscopic morphology. So this is morphology at the nanoscale, and how does it affect performance of bulk materials, which is materials at the scale that we usually see them. Okay. So materials with the nanoscale morphology must be treated very differently from both molecules on the one hand, which are of course smaller, okay, and bulk materials, which are of course much larger. So this is like think of a window, or rather think of a door. Okay, think of a door in a room. Okay, so the door is very special. It connects the small room to the rest of the world outside. Okay, and that is what happens at the nanoscale. So the small scale, which is the molecules, okay, and they are connected to the bulk material, which is what we usually work with. Okay, and that connection takes place at the nanoscale, and that's why morphology, that is shape, okay, size and shape, are become very important. So quite some of my work has been on the conceptualization, fabrication, and use of sculpture thin films. These are like vermicelli, except that the shapes are per our design. And when we design these shapes so that electromagnetic fields such as light and microwaves, for that matter, they can interfere. They can interfere in a programmed manner, the way we want that interaction to take place. The same materials can also propagate sound. Okay, so there is an acoustic component as well, and whatever we design at the microscopic scale, the nanoscale, it turns out that the effects can be seen at the bulk scale. So as we go on with wireless engineering, we are making communications at higher and higher frequencies. The devices are becoming smaller and smaller. Okay, we are packing many more devices in the same real estate. Okay, so this is where you need to understand the role of morphology very well. That's what I do.
Wow. Now we just realized that, as we see the computers, right? Because we speak more on the language of computers today, you saw that the material is shrinking and, it is becoming more and more thin. So now we understand that this morphology plays a great role. So when you talk about sculptured thin films, how do a common person understand about this? Where exactly we use this?
Well, so think in this fashion. Suppose I'm talking about light, but you can apply it to infrared waves for that matter, and microwaves. Okay, so these waves move, and when they move, they can be made to undergo some changes, and those changes are the ones that encode signals. Okay. So we want the changes to take place in very specific ways. Okay. And those changes can be changes in frequency, changes in amplitude, changes in a property called phase. Okay. And that's where when light passes through a material, it changes in amplitude, it changes in phase, and it can also change in frequency. So we use these sculpture thin films or materials of that kind, okay, to create these changes in a programmed way.
Absolutely. So when you see these changes in these sculptured thin films, So how does this contribute today to 5G or 6G? Is there any way these are connected? Today you see 5G, 6G.
Well, it will probably be more in 6.5G or 7G that you will start seeing these effects much more. Okay. 5G, it's there, but not to that level. But 6.5, 6, 7G, yes, you will see it very much. So. Yeah.
Great to know. So let's come to more about the educational system. So I would like to ask your distinct contributions of the Indian educational system and American educational system in your professional life. What were the distinct contributions?
Well, I went to schools in Delhi and Lucknow, or rather, I should say Lucknow, Delhi, and Lucknow. That's how it went. And what the Indian school system gave me was very strong foundational knowledge, very strong. Okay. But when I came to United States, okay, then I realized that, yes, my foundations were very strong, but I did not know much about the advancing wavefront of knowledge. And, this was, of course, 43 years ago. Okay, there was no internet. Okay. And books took long to reach. Okay. So I actually learned about the advancing knowledge frontier. And one thing more I learned in America, at an American institution, like in this case, University of Utah and later Penn State, that is critical thinking. Critical thinking is extremely important for scientists, extremely important for researchers. How do you formulate questions? How do you answer them? And then how do you create new questions from what you have learned? Okay, so you must do that in such a way that answers come out, first of all, readily, or as readily as possible. Okay, and secondly, that those answers are useful, and then they guide further research. Okay, this critical thinking is something that I learned in the United States.
Very, very nice point you have touched upon, Dr. Akhilesh. So you said about critical thinking, right? So when you say critical thinking, how do you compare the folks today coming to your university from India or anywhere else? Do you think the critical thinking has changed from the Indian educational system today, or you think that there is an improvement?
Well, certainly Indian students who come to Penn State today, whom I see, they are definitely more knowledgeable about what is happening. And that is a contribution of the internet. Everything is available to them. Okay. So they certainly know more. I'm confident about that. Okay. And because they know more, once they arrive in a place like Penn State or Georgia Tech or any major American institution, okay, then what happens is they can flower. Okay. And I'm very, very hopeful that the newer generations will continue to do better.
Absolutely.
Very hopeful.
So if I were to ask in a different way, let's say you said that the foundation was strong in the Indian educational system for yourself. What do you think one thing would have improved when you were studying, if the critical thinking would have little bit more? How do you think the educational system should give this opportunity for the critical thinking?
Well, I was in a sense fortunate. I had a professor named Prasad Kastigar, who was a professor of physics. And he used to, and the professors lived on campus. Okay. So in the evenings, every so often, I would be at his home along with some other students. Okay. And we would chat about this and that, many, many things. And he really was my first mentor. He developed this love for learning. Okay. And learning and asking questions, etc. But that was not common. That was not common. So I think one way in which Indian universities can become better, if they are not already doing so, okay, is by having faculty members and students interact more outside the classroom, outside the laboratory. Okay. that would be very important, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely, I agree. So you began your post PhD career as a theaterist, right? So why did you also begin experimental research 20 years later? Is there any significance for that?
Well, yes, I began to realize certain things. But theory provides a framework for thinking.
Mhm.
Okay, how do you formulate questions? And then how do you interpret results? Theory provides that framework. What experiments do is to ground theory in reality.
Mhm.
Otherwise, people can theorize about, pigs have wings, for example. Okay, well, you can theorize about anything you feel like. But experiment tells you, look, let's see, is it possible? We have to do that. So for the first about 20 years of my post-PhD career, I was primarily doing theoretical work. I had experimental colleagues with whom I would confer, okay, and discuss things. But I myself did not do any experiments, okay. Well, as it turns out, two of them retired. And so I said, maybe it's time for me to do some experiments myself. And that is when I started to do that. So I consider myself to be a poor experimentalist. I'm not clever at experiments. I do experiments, or my students do experiments only to test theoretical ideas. And I'm confident that if an idea is good, and if experimental proof is there, then there are much more clever experimentalists who will make, wonderful things with those initial proof of concept experiments. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's great to hear. The reason I wanted to understand, because after 20 years, that's a great time. And again, learning, doing experiments after 20 years, you need to have a lot of energy. You need to have, that spirit to learn. So that's where I wanted to touch upon that question. And the other thing I wanted to ask, in this electromagnetic or mechanics or science, if anyone has any idea, for example, let's say our NRIs have any idea they wanted to put forward, so they will not be having that much knowledge on how to bring this idea into action. So what is your suggestion for those people who have great ideas in this area, and how can they nurture? And is there any help that you or your organization can give them an idea?
Well, science is a cooperative enterprise.
Okay.
That's very important to remember, okay? We all benefit from the scientific expertise and developments of others. Okay. So once you realize that it's a cooperative enterprise, and I think faculty members at major universities are very cognizant of this fact. Okay.
Mhm.
So the best thing anybody can do in this, if they have an idea, is to actually send an email. I mean, it's so easy these days to contact a professor. So look up a close by university, look up Department of XYZ, which you think is close enough. Okay, you will find faculty members, list of faculty members, emails, etc. If you don't find their direct emails, you will find the email of the chair of the department. Okay, and simply send them an email that I am XYZ, I have this idea, certain ideas, and could I have half an hour or 45 minutes to talk to a faculty member? Most likely that would be arranged.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Social media has made very easy to contact, but you need to know how to contact them and how you can funnelize them. Absolutely. So what is the major stand in your electromagnetics research?
Oh, that's what I said to you, electromagnetic fields in complex materials and nanomaterials. Okay. And that's to examine the effect of microscopic morphology on how bulk materials perform. That's what I do mostly.
Absolutely. So the other area is nanotechnologies, right? So you have done good amount of research in this area. So tell us, our viewers, in a simple way, where they can understand what is the crux of it.
The crux really, as I said earlier, was that so nanoscale is about, give or take, between a few nanometers and a few hundred nanometers. Okay, 300 nanometers is considered common to say that, but it's one can make some some variations here or there. Okay. All right. So matter at that scale behaves very differently.
Mhm.
And it turns out that the surface area is very large compared to the volume.
Okay.
Okay. Surface area is very large compared to the volume. So you can think in terms of, you can think very simply like a cake.
Mhm.
Okay. A cake has large volume, but the surface area is really small. But if you take the same cake and slice it into thin slices and then spread them on a table, and now the surface area is much larger, although the volume did not change. Okay. So think in terms of the amount of icing you would have to put. Okay. Surface area is much larger. So the effects that take place at the surface level versus effects that take place at a volume, their relative importance changes. Okay. So what you can do is, by changing the morphology at the nano scale, you can change the way materials interact with in my case, electromagnetic fields. Okay. Or with sound fields. Okay. Or with a bunch of electrons or neutrons. All those changes are possible. Okay. And then when you look at this material, the bulk scale, because that is where many of our devices function, okay, but at a much larger scale, then you see the effects can be completely different than if we had never done this nanoscale morphology. Okay. Going back to the idea of a cake, think about something like a linzer torte, which is made of thin slices, that are somehow glued together using chocolate. Okay. That kind of a cake is very different from a chocolate cake.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Nicely explained, Dr. Akhilesh. Then coming on to the technology now. So I know that every field is interrelated with the technology. Do you think any of the AI or ML technologies will make a difference in your research field? Or did you use them?
That's a very good question. When I was a student, a graduate student even, there was really not much of talk about artificial intelligence or machine learning. Mostly people like Alvin Toffler, they wrote books about what will happen 30 years down the road or something like that. But at the university level, we really didn't talk much about these kinds of things. So I started to think about along these lines in early 1990s, published even a paper on that. But then that paper actually became obscure. I also had the idea of sculptured thin films at the same time, and that was a route that I took. But very recently, I had a PhD student graduate, and he actually applied machine language algorithms to predict the sensing responses of sculptured thin films of a certain kind. You see, as morphology becomes more and more complicated, it is not easy to say what its effects would be at the bulk scale.
Absolutely.
Okay, and this is where machine learning and artificial intelligence can play a major role. So I would say in the next 10 to 15 years, there will be a lot of work done in electromagnetic fields, which would actually rely on. Let me give you an example. Think of a chessboard. A chessboard has 64 squares, right?
Yes.
And let us suppose that we want to make a device in which each of these squares is either empty or has a coating of a certain material, just whatever material it is, right? So the number of choices, how many chessboards can we have? Well, for each square, you have a choice of either 0 or 1. 0 means no material, 1 means we have put one material, right? So you have two choices. So the number of chessboards that can be made is 2 to the power 64, which is an astronomically large number. Okay.
Wow.
There's nobody can do that many experiments, etc. Right? Okay. So can we use machine language algorithms to do this? We actually make a test case, make 200 or 2,000 test cases, some large number, but not very large. Okay, and then using that, can we predict which chessboard will serve our desired function the best? Okay, so when problems become so complex, so intricate, then machine level certainly offers us a way forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I also think that more and more technology involves, then the researchers also should get into more and more complex algorithms. Absolutely. So now let's talk about more sustainability, right? Why did you add sustainability as a research focus, and what does sustainability mean to you in your area?
So that's sustainability. Let me begin by quoting Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay.
And this is a quotation that I saw on a stamp on Mahatma Gandhi that was issued by the United Nations. So, the world recognizes this, the importance of this. So he wrote, "The earth, the air, the land, and water are not an inheritance from our forefathers, but on loan from our children." Okay.
Wow.
That's a profound thought, that whatever we do today, we must preserve and perhaps enhance for future generations. So I think of sustainability as a process for simultaneous pursuit of human health, happiness, environmental quality, and economic well-being, but not only for us, not only for the current generations, but for future generations also. Okay, so I became aware of climate change about 15 years ago. My wife is a meteorologist, so it was difficult not to become aware of these issues around that time. Okay. Nowadays, I guess it is better to call it climate emergency. There are a plethora of indicators. Ice shelves are thinning, dead zones are increasing in the oceans. The frequency of catastrophic events keep on increasing, such as forest fires, storms, hurricanes, etc. So what we now need to do is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to about 12% in a very planned way by 2050, or critical indicators. And the one that is most commonly used is some sort of an annually averaged, globally averaged temperature. Okay. That temperature rise will exceed the threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius above the 1850 level. Okay. And we seem to be going there very rapidly, that the threshold will be exceeded. So about 10, 12 years ago or so, I said, there is something I should be able to do. Now, I'm not a meteorologist and I'm not a policy planner or anything like that. But I said, can I use electromagnetic fields? And yes, the answer was yes. And I decided to work on thin film solar cells to help create a low pollution source of readily available energy that can be deployed even in remote areas without the use of long transmission lines.
Wow.
Okay. So that is how sustainability became a research focus for me.
Wow. That's great to know, because when you talked about putting these thin film cells in the solar energy, right? So have you finished the research, or you are going to complete and implement it?
Well, we have very strong theoretical results which show that we can actually make thin films. We should be able to make thin films of compound semiconductors they have a property called band gap, and that the band gap should be graded in a certain way. And if we do that, then we can increase the efficiencies easily by a third to a fourth or so. Okay, so this means that we have the ability to at least design, thin film solar cells that can be put on walls, internal walls, external walls, And these can be generating energy from the sun if they are external, internal from the light sources that we have already. Okay, they can reharvest light and into electricity again. Okay, so these are possibilities. Now the real issue is, can we make these kinds of thin film solar cells economically? That is something that is outside my areas of expertise, and other people have to do that. But we have published a book very recently, my collaborators and I, a year ago, 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, in which we showed what are optimal band gap profiles. Now, we may not be able to achieve them, but if we come close to them, that should be good enough. Yes.
Absolutely. Now I understand, sustainability, why it should be a focus. And this also gives a thought, like every new research should also be thought from the climatic perspective and, from the sustainability perspective as well. So do you have any mandate from any governing body which looks at all the new researches today?
Well, I mean, the White House has certainly taken a lead in it. In October, they issued a national security document, which is unclassified, and they identified 4 or 5 major national security issues, and the third one is climate emergency.
Wow, great to hear, Dr. Akhilesh. In the interest, I think we are getting to the edge of the time. In the interest of time, I have 3 questions which are very, very important, and I want your guidance on that. One is, what are the 3 life lessons that you wish to give to the secondary school children as well as the undergraduate students? This is very important from you. How do you give these lessons?
Well, the first thing I would tell is that secondary school children should find mentors. Then later they should mentor others. Okay. Life is a cooperative enterprise as well. Okay. We live with each other. We don't live individually. Okay. So find mentors and mentor others. The second is, you should always observe. Okay. Then learn from your observations and organize your observations. Okay. And that is the way to become innovative. If you don't look, you will not learn. If you don't learn, you will not organize. Okay. Okay. So all 3 are needed in some sequence. And then you can become really innovative and find solutions to problems that were seemingly impossible to solve. And the third is that ask questions, and certainly try to ask difficult questions. Okay. It's important to ask questions.
Great. I really love the 3 things what you have told, and I'm sure that the viewers will definitely grasp some of them and then implement in their day-to-day lives. And one other question in this relevance, I would like to ask, in this science and mechanics, how are the opportunities? Because today, if you see, all the youth is going towards only IT, right? So what is your message to them? What are the opportunities, and how do we ensure your career is in this?
Well, money is important, very important, but it is not the most important thing. The most important thing in any life should be happiness.
Absolutely.
Be happy. Do whatever brings you happiness, but without harming others. Okay. If that, I think, is the guiding principle, it certainly has been my guiding principle. Okay. If that becomes your guiding principle, you will find the right things to do. Okay. So be happy without harming others, whatever brings you happiness. And you can chart your own path accordingly.
Absolutely. Definitely. I think you rightly said happiness is important. Then whatever you have passion, cultivate that without harming others. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Then the last 2 questions. One is, what is your ultimate goal? What do you want to accomplish in your life as a scientist? Or have you achieved already?
Well, Science is never ending, it seems. So nobody can say they have achieved everything. No, 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 no. But you also come to terms with your own mortality. Okay.
Absolutely.
And well, research is a lifestyle. Let me say this: research is a lifestyle. So when it's a lifestyle, then it pervades your entire being. Okay. And I actually want I want to talk to young people as much as possible and tell them that it is important for them to preserve the biosphere on this planet, to preserve this biosphere, and that they should do this with as little perturbation as possible. So find ways in which each one of us can reduce our carbon footprint. I would like to spend the next 5, 10, 15 years that I have available as an active person, to bring that message to young people. Find ways to reduce your carbon footprint.
That's a great message, I think. And as you know, the carbon footprint is increasing day by day, and it's very interesting to see how we can reduce. Akhilesh, I think this will really help the youth. I'm glad that you are bringing this topic, and you are trying to educate, and you have next 5 to 10 years for that. Definitely, we have to do all together to keep our climate control and everything in control. So ultimately, what is your message to the community, NRI community or Indo-American community? What is your ultimate message for the young and also the already established people?
I've already said that. Be happy.
Be happy.
Be happy.
Be happy.
Be happy. Be happy without harming others.
Right.
Do whatever will make you happy without harming others.
That's an absolute statement. Thank you so much. And thank you all the viewers for listening to this episode. Dr. Akhilesh, again, thank you so much for being here. And we will definitely bring more people onto this show and then give some knowledge, whatever way possible for all the NRIs. Again, thank you so much. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. And thank you.